Premier Mark McGowan and Health Minister Roger Cook are providing a COVID-19 update. Let's take you straight there.
Sydney has reached the halfway point of the 2-week lockdown. Residents today making the most of the winter sunshine after 35 new infections were revealed.
WA's Perth and Peel regions are waiting anxiously to find out this morning whether COVID-19 has spread further in the
Authorities fear a FIFO worker may have been out in the Perth community.
About a year ago, due to the ongoing human malware problem, I moved from Melbourne back to my home state of Western Australia. I moved back in with the parents in a semi-rural area just east of Perth. While it is very nice living on such a large, beautiful property, it comes with one huge downside. Out here, we're in a bit of an internet black spot. Come March 2021, I received some exciting news that Starlink was going to become available in Australia soon. So I went straight on the internet, signed up, paid my deposit, and bam. Nothing. For 8 whole months. That is until I received an exciting email. Yep, I was getting Starlink. I forked out my $700 odd dollary dues, and weeks later, I got me a Dishy Mcflatface. Welcome to the first episode of Procrasturbate Tech, where we'll be taking a brief look at SpaceX Starlink and my first week of Space Daddy Musk's Magic Space Internet. Now, the first thing to remember is that I haven't set this up properly yet. I've literally just yeeted it onto the roof, stuffed the cable through a window, and now I'm trying it out until I get a real chance to stick it on a pole and get it past the trees. Yeah, we have a lot of trees around here. Look, right now it does drop out a lot, but when it's working, it works really damn well. But first, I'll briefly explain what Starlink is. Starlink is a high-speed satellite internet service from Elon Musk's SpaceX. It uses a bunch of small satellites, about 1,600 since last count, all placed in low Earth orbit. Each satellite can communicate with a ground station as well as communicate between each other to allow for uninterrupted connectivity to internet services. Users receive a satellite receiver called Dishy, which is used to give connectivity to the internet. Given the satellites are not geosynchronous, meaning they're moving through the sky all the time, Dishy needs around 100-degree unobstructed view of a portion of the sky in order to work and operate correctly. Advertised speeds are between 100 megabit and 300 megabit per second, but that can vary depending on how well you've placed the dish and where you're located. Right now, it seems that all of the Starlink equipment is sent from a SpaceX warehouse located in Hawthorne, California. After the hardware was dispatched, the whole trip from California to my home in Perth took about 11 days. Currently, it takes about a week for the hardware to actually get dispatched. The whole unit arrives in this grey Starlink branded box. Inside, you'll find all the parts you'd expect, such as Dishy, the stand for Dishy, a really dull and basic router, a giant dual PoE injector, and the cables already attached to that injector. The cables themselves feel like they've actually got an outer silicon layer rather than just some sort of rubber. This goes for the Dishy Ethernet cable as well as the router cable, and even the power cable, funnily enough. The power cable even came with the correct connector for Australia. The PoE injector has a white side for the white router cable and a grey side for the Dishy cable. They're both RJ45 connectors, with the router side using active PoE, so you can connect a non-PoE router if you prefer. Apparently the Dishy side uses an out-of-spec passive PoE implementation, so I'd suggest not getting them mixed up. No, I'm not going to try that just to confirm it. Dishy's cable is permanently attached, but there is plenty of cable to get it where you need it to go. Honestly, there's nothing outstanding about the unboxing experience. It's a pretty basic box. Everything's laid out as it should be. It isn't an Apple or a Samsung product where everything is shiny and covered in plastics and there's not a single speck of dust on it. It does look like it's actually been in a warehouse. The finish for Dishy isn't great, the plastics aren't perfect, and it came with some light scratches. The panel covering the front was cut rather roughly, and all the metal pieces of the frame aren't perfectly clean or tidy. Anyway, it's going on the roof, so it's not exactly like you're going to see most of this. The router itself is a very dull affair. It's a white, unbranded plastic with some brushed aluminium just to make it a little less dull. There is a blocked RJ45 connector on the back. I assume that allows you to connect a switch, but I haven't tried this yet. Unfortunately, the dull look of the router is pretty apt, but more on the router later. Setting up the service is quite easy. Getting it perfect though, it's a little bit more effort. You install the Starlink app on your phone and launch it. In fact, you can actually do this in advance if you want to and spend some time looking for the perfect spot. Once installed, you can use the app to find the best location for Dishy. The app comes with a mode that allows you to use your phone camera and sensors to check for any obstructions that will likely cause connection issues. Once it's finished checking, it will show you where the obstructions will likely be. You can repeat this process as many times as you like until you find that perfect spot. Once you find the perfect location, you put the dish out, connect all the cables and then run the app to set the thing up. Dishy will then move about and connect. Honestly, it's a pretty easy thing to get working. The only thing to remember is it can take around 12 hours from first use for the service to become properly stable. Initially, Dishy will point straight up into the air and run. Eventually, it'll tilt itself down to give itself a better view of the moving satellites. Now back to the router. Your only option is to configure Dishy in your router through the Starlink app. Going to the IP address of the router will just kick you back to the Starlink website. There's not much you can actually configure. You can change the SSID, the Wi-Fi password, choose to split 5 and 2.4 GHz SSIDs, and enable WPA3. That's about it. Otherwise, you can run a speed test. The speed test runs between the router and the connection, and it also then runs between the connection and your phone, showing you the speeds that you're getting from the router and the speeds that you're getting from your device. If you're not a power user, then you're not going to like this router very much. Luckily, it is possible to use any router that takes a WAN via Ethernet connection. I won't be going into that now, but I will likely build a pfSense router to replace this, but that'll be another video. My experience with this whole service right now is fine. It's super quick when there is a connection, and the dropouts are tolerable. Providing you're not streaming outbound, or using online meetings or a VPN, then you shouldn't run into any trouble. This should improve when I do move Dishy to a more appropriate location. As you can see from the graph, there are obstructions and they are currently a bit of a problem. Mine are all from the trees in the area. To be clear, trees in the way will cause dropouts when the satellites are behind them. Sorry if that's not something you wanted to hear, but yes. Any trees will cause obstructions, will cause disconnections. I am planning on getting a pole and mounting it above our tree line as much as possible so I can get a better connection. Now to the good stuff. Other than the dropouts, streaming video on Netflix, Stan, YouTube and any of the other streaming services seems to be perfectly fine. You do get the occasional stutter if the obstruction lasts for more than about 20 seconds, but otherwise you wouldn't really notice. As for speed, well, I normally get about 120 megabit per second. I've not got the router in the best place yet, and it is a bit far from my PC. It does lead to a bit of slowdown because of the way Wi-Fi works. But I mean, that's something that's easily fixed up. It'll certainly be something that's fixed up as soon as I attach this to the main network. Overall, I've been very happy with the service as it stands in my first week of use. I hesitate to recommend it just yet because it's not perfect, though as I said, this should improve once I put the dish in a much better place. I'm sure a few of you are wondering how well Dishy handles the heat. Living in the Democratic People's Republic of Western Australia, a nation state so hot that our national pastime is putting out bushfires and getting sunburnt as hell. I had a chance to test that over Christmas.
Hitting 42.7 degrees, our hottest February day this century.
Perth is on track for what could be its hottest Christmas day on record.
Perth residents are set to celebrate Christmas in record-breaking heat. The latest forecast for today has the mercury tipping 43 degrees.
Well, the good news is that despite reaching 42.6 degrees Celsius where I live, Dishy continued to work without fault throughout the hottest part of the day and has managed to do so throughout this little heat wave. Even though the rest of us would rather be in the swimming pool, Dishy has performed perfectly well. The heat was one of my bigger concerns given how nasty it can get over here, and Dishy performed admirably. Once I've got it up on a pole, I'll post a new video with the experience and let you know how it's going from there. Thanks for watching the first episode of Procrasturbate Tech. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram, where you can keep up to date with the latest Procrastabate news. If you don't mind e-begging and are feeling generous, check out my Amazon wishlist at procrastabate.net/Amazon. Every new subscriber helps, so if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button, the like button. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.